Okay, guys, time to for our final talk to talk about retopologizing and the quad draw tool. You could use the quad draw for other things, but I'm just gonna show you how to retopologize stuff. We're gonna make a sphere again because it's the most appropriate one. So let's just create a sphere here, and maybe I should have just created it with the tools, the settings here, and just max out the even more, even more than that. Let's go 400 by 400. Let's go crazy about it. We're gonna set it up on the z-axis and create it. Yes. Take a while to generate my ass. Okay, so this is our sphere. As you can see, there's loads of polygons. So it's primed and ready for our sculpting. We could always go and let's say I was just gonna sculpt something real quick in our case. No, I don't want to autosave right now. Let me just enable the symmetry here. Let's make something very rudimentary, something like a bulge or something, right? So let's go and say, here's our mouth. Again, in our case, we want to make a dip. So here's our mouth, right? And here are our eyes. Did I enable the symmetry? Object X. I did. I believe I didn't. So anyway, let's just create our eyes. Right. Well, this was not the best example. We probably needed a little bit bigger in magnitude. So what we want to do, the opposite, my bad. So there's our eyes. Something like that, right? Obviously, I'm not going to spend too much time because you need to screw around with the fall off as well here. Right. Not just the brush strength, but also the size. You want to get it nice and, nice and deep. There we go. We got some weird eyes. These are our eye sockets, and obviously there's our nose, right? Let's say this is our nose and whatever. There's some kind of weird skeleton, okay? What I'm trying to say is that once you have this set up, you need to somehow retopologize, because if we take a look at all the polygons here, we've got a ton of edges, a ton of verts. We've got 160,000 polys, and that is a ridiculous amount of detail for just this face, okay? We don't need this. If we import this in the game, obviously, Unreal Engine can take it, but this is just, it's pointless to have that many polys, all right? You're not going to achieve much. So whenever you're trying to retopologize, it basically means getting rid of these polygons. Now, you could argue that we could always simplify this and go into, to mesh, and just, we're going to go and say reduce, and just go into percentages. We can apply it once, right? And it's going to reduce it by half, but it'll try to keep the shape. Okay, so we could maybe reapply it again after that, or go into higher percentage. So let's say we want to reduce to up to 80% of our original mesh. So there we go. It's going to reduce that. But as you can see, even after it did that, there's still some inconsistencies. There's still too many. Look at how many things we have here at the bottom. Like, look at this. Just look at how many vertices we have here that have nothing to do here. Look at the vertices. Look at the vertices. Ridiculous amount of vertices that we don't need at the top. This could be one quad, right? So, even though you could say that, the simplification is very handy, it's not always that handy, right? You can preserve the quads, but you can increase the sharpness. Like, there's these settings, you could maybe screw around with them, maybe get a little bit better result. But in general, this isn't really that useful, because we lost 80% of our polygons, and yet it still looks like a disaster, okay? And let's say, all right, let's go and redo this. Let's just press sorry, not J, but like G for go, so G, right? So we're going to do this by another 50%, by another 80%. Let's go by another 80%. And, okay, now we're starting to get some problems here in the deformations. So we get a lot of these lines here at the bottom, but we actually don't, like, have a bunch of edges here on the sides, but we don't have any subdivisions in the middle. So we got some problems at this stage of the game. Now, what to do? Well, this is where retopology comes in. So we're going to go and press and hold the left mouse button, and we're going to go into our quad draw tool. We can actually open our tool settings here with it, because you will notice that, even though it's a quad draw tool, it's essentially, it allows me to manipulate different things. So you can see it's going apeshit here, because this is not what it's supposed to do, all right? So I can insert an edge loop here, for example, right? I can insert an edge loop to increase the poly count here, but this is really not, this is not solving a problem. We're actually adding to the problem. as you can see right here with our edge loops. So what we need to do is somehow draw upon this thing, because as you can see, if you take a look here, the top here, we can actually draw, and I'm just pressing the left mouse button, we can actually draw and hold shift, and now we have a polygon here, right? And we can make another polygon here, and we can make another polygon here. Okay, so we're making polygons. So essentially the idea is to draw over the shape and try to get it as close as possible with as little polygons as possible. All right, and this is a very powerful tool, by the way. You can get all of these shortcuts here, which is very nice and handy if you forget what it's doing. But essentially it allows you to work on your mesh quite easily. So if you press and hold tab, it'll always allow you to extend different things. Oh, currently in the tool settings, I'll just delete this. Come on. You should be able to delete this. God damn it. Okay, this didn't work out exactly the way I thought it would. Delete it. There we go. Now, make sure to always check your keyboard shortcuts here. But essentially, if you press and hold tab, you'll be able to extend anything that's coming out of your object. So, and it's going to snap automatically to the next, to the closest polygon. So you could, like as you can see, it snaps. And you can define this snap range, right? You can, the auto weld, as you can see, it's by 10. You can make it more than 10. You can make it 20, 30, whatever floats your boat. You can snap the back faces if you want. You got different relaxes and extensions. For example, you can extend the edge, the loop, or the border. But the cool thing about the extension is, let me just delete this. The cool thing about the extension is, let's say in our case, we're going to extend these two. And you might think, Jesus, we're going to have to do this for every polygon? No. Cool thing is, hold down tab and now extend it with the middle mouse button, and this should extend the whole row. So now we have 3. And as you can see, we can keep extending, and we'll be getting a bigger and bigger sheet. Now it's taken a while to actually calculate because I got a bunch of polygons here that shouldn't exist. It's a very handy tool to have because you can retopologize, and as you can see, we have very nice edge loops here. And even if we don't have enough detail, we can always add by holding Control. This is going to add an edge loop to our current polygon count, and this is essentially going to subdivide it. But then again, if you really want to subdivide something, you'll be holding Control and then middle mouse click. Let's say I'm over here and I want to add an edge loop exactly at the center of my of these polygons. So what I'm going to do is I'm essentially going to just click with the middle mouse button once, and it's going to subdivide all of these polygons together. If we want to get rid of a loop, we're going to hold Control and Shift and left mouse button will always delete it because you see the X. However, if you use the middle mouse button, it'll allow you to drag them around. So I can drag it anywhere I want, or I can just outright delete it. I can even delete a polygon if I wanted to. It'll just take a while to do it, right? The cool thing about this as well is you can just hold tab. If you're not, like, look at this, hovering outside the quad mesh. If you hold tab and hold the left mouse button, you can draw quad strips. So in other words, you can just start, you can just one, and then you can have another one there. You can even extend upon it, or you could have a whole road of quads here, which it'll be nice and handy to actually have it working around. But anyway, now that we have this sorted, let's go and take a look at our object. Now the problem with this is that we need to have this topology. Let me just delete this. All right, let me just delete this here. By the way, you can also relax with Shift. I forgot about that. But in this case, it doesn't look very good because we don't have any live surfaces. So relaxation isn't really doing much. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave this. I'm going to select all of these. And I'm going to delete them. Oops, 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 oops. No. Come back. No, this is going to take ages now. Okay, there we go. I'm going to grab these. Just these. Seriously? It's part of the object now? That can't be right. So this is a child now. Balls. Okay, that's why it was taking so long, because it's a child. So I'm going to open the sphere here. Wow, this is part of the sphere. For some reason, this is really part of the sphere. This shouldn't be part of the sphere in any world. Let me just unparent it then, I suppose. Okay. Then we're going to select the faces, delete it. Delete them. There we go. Okay, let's go back into it. I'm sorry about this little detour, but Seems like I had a problem. Now, in order to make things snap to it, remember what I told you about last time? We need to make this live, because the only way you can make something snap is by holding X, C, or V in order to, respectively to go to the grid snapping or curve snapping or vertex snapping. But in this case, you don't want to be doing that all the time, not to mention that you need to tell the tool where you want it to work on. So we're going to go and hold right mouse button and make this thing live. Now, once this is live, it's no longer selectable, okay? But the bit that it's important is now that we have our tool, I'm going to press Y to re-enable the tool, we can actually start drawing onto this surface. So I can start and say, let's go and retopologize the nose. So I can start adding these points here. Okay, so this is important to have a point here. That's our first polygon, and then we need another point, another set of points here at the top. Right, there's another polygon, and then another point here. There's another polygon, and I can maybe extend this whole row upwards. As you can see, it will be going along the nose, right? So I'm currently basically adding polygons, and if you take a look, let's extend this to the left. If you take a look, I'm actually going to be producing, and obviously I think symmetry works with this as well. So you can actually define the symmetry. Come on. Come on. Jesus, I can't get the damn thing to work. Symmetry. No? No symmetry? Okay, that is extremely weird. I thought this would have symmetry enabled. You could symmetrically work on this. I have to check this for you guys for later, but I believe symmetry is available for this tool. Anyway, what you want to do is hold basically tab and keep extending it. And if you take a look at what we have currently, you should notice that with very minimal effort, I've essentially reduced quite a lot of this stuff. Okay, I've essentially reduced it to a number of polygons. So if we take a look, just make this unlive, not live for a second, right? Exit the tool here, and Shift U to make this not live. Right, Shift U. Come on, boy. Shift U. Okay, I'm just gonna open the freaking thing and make Shift U. Come on, seriously? Shift U. Make live, unlive, modify. Okay, there must be something here I'm missing. Where'd it go? Make live current. Oh, it's Control L. Ah, I somehow thought that Control L would. Maybe Maya's bugging out on me again or something. I'm not sure. What we're gonna do essentially is we're gonna open up the channel box here, create a new layer. Oh, I already have a layer here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna add this to the selection, and I'm gonna toggle the visibility. And as you can see, we currently have something resembling a nose, right? It's close enough approximation of our original shape. However, it's a lot less polygons, okay? Not as many polygons. So this is how you retopologize stuff. Now, obviously, I had a little bit of problem with the live, making this live for some reason. It's live now, and now it's not live. So it should have worked previously, but it's not right now. Shift U should make it. Oh, this is I'm freezing. My bad. Control L is the one I set. So you should have to set the hotkey, by the way, for live. I forgot that it's not available by default. My bad. So you go to hotkey editor and you're just gonna type live, and you're gonna have to make live, and you're gonna press Control L or something that's that you can use later down the line. This is gonna be very helpful because otherwise you can't get it to be not live. All right. Or otherwise you have to go into display, I believe, Windows Mesh, where to go, modify, make live, right? And then once it's live, you need to go to modify, make not live in order to get it not live. Anyway, I hope you understand what the point of this whole thing was, is just that you need to, that's the limitation really when it comes to sculpting, is that you need to retopologize later down the line. Now there's one thing here that's actually very cool, is imagine that this is not a nose, imagine it's something else. You could actually work with it, and in our case, we just need to select all the faces, for example. We can extrude those, in other words, pull them out, well, and now this is not actually the best way to pull them out, but let's say like that. So you can actually create geometry based upon the silhouette of your target. Obviously, you could do that just by grabbing the faces off the the original mesh, but you could actually extrude from the original axis like this, from the world axis. This is the local axis. But what I'm trying to say here is that this is a very powerful tool for, let's say, making scars, bone tissue, pockets, clothing, right? Anything you basically need to be conformed to a shape, you can just draw a couple of quads on it, extrude them, and then you have something, a separate mesh. Because if we take a look here at the outliner, this is a separate mesh. Okay, this is a completely separate mesh. Like if I delete it, you can take a look that you'll see that the original mesh is still there, whereas the one that I just deleted is gone. Okay, so they're not in any way connected, just unlike our previous version where for some reason they were stuck together in the same object. Okay. Anyway, I hope that's I hope you understand what I'm just trying to say here, because it's important to understand when you're choosing your workflow which one are you going to go for. You're going to go for sculpting, knowing that you need to add a lot of polygons here, only to have to strip it away after that, right? So once you're done, you need to retopologize. Almost always is the case that you need to retopologize. But the cool thing about it is that after that, you already have a high resolution mesh, and you don't need to create an extra model for it. Or you go with the polygon route and you spend a lot of time getting your edge loops right, getting all your edge flow correctly, and then at the end of the day, you're going to have to create a more detailed version of that same mesh. So you'd have to keep adding and subdivide it, and both of these have pros and cons. And like I said, I personally have found that organic stuff is best sculpted, and inorganic stuff is best polygonally modeled. All right, so guns, weapons, computers, bulbs, doors, right, walls, whatever floats your boat, anything that doesn't move, doesn't have a heartbeat, should be modeled in polygons. And anything that can move or is modeled or can work or needs expressions or anything needs a high poly count, and you need to sculpt on it. Obviously, these are not mutually exclusive. Nothing's to say that I can't go over here and start like doing some weird extrusions, like maybe if I want to add some, I don't know, some pimples or something, which should be easier should be done easier with the like what's its face, should be done easier with sculpting, right? So it will be easier to do that with sculpting. However, that's not to say that I can't do it. All right, what I'm saying is you need to choose your poison essentially when you're starting to model a particular object. So in our case, like I said, I'll be modeling the worm, I'll be sculpting the worm, and I'll be modeling the beach, right, and the net, and the waves or whatever, if we're gonna have any water at the back. So make sure to practice both of these methods, because they're both extremely powerful, and you can achieve similar things in both of them. It's just that how effective and efficient are you going to be with each and every one of them. All right, I'm going to delete this thing, and in the next video we're going to be talking about the actual, and we're going to start modeling. All right. In the next video we're going to talk about the polygon tools, extrusions, bevels, all that jazz, the good stuff, because we went through the sculpting tools just now. Not all of them, but you can, you understand what they're doing, I hope anyway. We're going to go through the multi-cut tool. It's a very powerful tool. I find it extremely useful. I use it all the time in polygon modeling, and some others like extrusions and bevels, and what most of these options are for. And maybe we could go into deformers a little bit later as well if we want some very specific results that are usually not available. You could also use NURBS curves, which would essentially, well, all right, listen, I'm lofting here. I'm talking too much, so we'll just split up the videos. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.